everyone. So this is my first vlog for Dog Days, and the first question we're going to talk about is what to consider when you're thinking about getting a puppy. So a lot of people think that getting a dog is really simple. You can just go out and get it and that's it. But it's actually a really big decision that you have to commit to. It's a dog that could live up to 16, 17 years for some breeds. First, you want to talk about it with all your family members that live in your house, because they will all have responsibility in taking care of that dog. Even if it's a small child, you want to make sure that they understand that they'll have some responsibility with that. You don't ever want to go out and get a dog without telling everyone, just because it could cause problems in your family, and you might end up being the only one taking care of your dog. Unless that's what you want, but it might cause some anger in your family. Second thing to consider once you've all agreed to get a dog is to agree on a specific breed. There are so many dog breeds out there, but not every breed is right for every family. If you guys live a regular, pretty sedentary lifestyle and aren't out that much, you don't want to get a herding breed or a sporting hunting breed. That's probably not a great choice. You might want to go for something like a English bulldog, a lap dog type dog. If you are very active, you might want to go for a golden retriever, Labrador retriever, dogs like that. You also want to consider size. You want to look up the exercise requirements of the dog. Most dogs, a 30-minute walk or two is great, but you have to commit to that, just because it can cause anxiety or other issues if they don't get that exercise. The other thing to consider for dog breeds is health issues. Some dog breeds, if you get a purebred, they can have a lot of health issues. So deciding where to get your dog from is also very important. I would go against any pet stores, just because the puppies are usually from puppy mills. Not always, but typically. And puppy mills are like mass production places of doggy torture. So you really don't want to go to a pet store. So the two choices that I usually recommend to people would be to either go to a breeder if they want a specific dog that they cannot find in a shelter or at a humane society type deal. Then go to a breeder. If they want a dog that is a very young puppy, a dog that they want to do show work with, usually a breeder is probably the best bet for them. And it's really great. Breeders are awesome. You want to check, though, that they are reputable breeders, because there are a lot of people that are called backyard breeders, which are just people that kind of, their dog gets pregnant and they decide, okay, well, we can make money off our dog. So that's a bad situation there. And you just want to make sure you can kind of get a feel for the people. Most breeders have websites. If you go online, there's a vast catalog of different breeders' websites, depending on the breed that you would like. The only downside to going to a breeder would probably be that dogs are more expensive if they come from a breeder, because the breeder takes a lot of care putting work into their the parents of the dog, and they do a lot of testing. If specific breeds, they'll dock their tails, they'll take off their dew claws, which is fine. And so a lot more care goes into those dogs. Your second option would be going to a shelter for dogs, which is what I'm really big about, just because so many dogs die in shelters every day because they don't have homes. You can find any age of dog at a shelter. If you want a puppy, they're going to have puppies. If you want a senior dog, that's fine. And they will probably most likely have dogs between the ages of 1 and 3. Because that's the highest age that people turn dogs over to the shelter because of behavior issues. So I'm all for going to the shelter. And usually the dogs are a lot cheaper. They're already spayed or neutered, and they have all their vaccinations, which is great. The downside to going to a shelter is that you don't really know the dog's background. You don't really know its history. You don't know if it has any, if its parents had any health issues, which could come up in the future. And when you get the dog, it might have an illness like kennel cough, which is completely curable and really common in dogs from shelters. but that's just one downside to that. But yeah, I definitely recommend going to shelters. But if you have a really specific breed that you want, that you know you need, like if your kids have an allergy or something like that, then definitely go to a breeder. Just find one that's a great one. The third consideration, once you decide on a breed and where you're going to get your dog, you'll want to kind of check it out. If you decide on a breeder, they might not have a puppy readily available for you if you're looking for a puppy. Just because they have different litters. Good breeders won't overbreed their dogs, so they won't always have puppies ready. So you'll want to get to know them. They'll usually have an application to fill out, so you'll want to do all that and keep in contact with them. For shelters and everything, you can always go down there. They'll probably always have puppies, so you can decide to go down there the day you all talk as a family and everything. I would recommend to get everything ready and then go look. Probably look online, call the shelter and make sure the dog's still there. And, if you want to go down to the shelter and get the dog, sometimes they won't let them go home that day because of surgeries or anything like that. But usually they will. So you want to, have supplies ready, though. I mean, most people wouldn't go into the hospital to have a baby and not have everything set up at home. So you want to kind of treat the idea of getting a dog kind of like bringing home a child. You want to have your house proof for a puppy because puppies will put everything in their mouth. You also want to have a toy budget, food budget. If you want to give your dog good quality food, it can cost, for a 15-pound bag, it can cost anywhere from $28.99 to $32.99 for most of the foods that I know at PetSmart. The good foods. For the cheap foods like puppy chow, which is a whole nother vlog, those can be like $11.99 for a 15-pound. So it kind of depends. If you want to give your dog good nutrition, then you're gonna have to spend a little more. Toys, you want to have money for all sorts of different toys for your dogs so that they don't end up chewing on your shoes or on cables or on anything important to you, because that's the number one way that people get frustrated with their dogs once they're not cute puppies. Another thing that you want to budget in is probably training. I'm a big supporter of training, especially group classes, just because the socialization time is so important for puppies. And they really need that time for them to be well-rounded dogs. Plus, it's really cool to have your dog know tricks and that type of thing. People love that. So, other than the behavioral concerns, it's kind of cute to watch them do different tricks. And I also, make sure it's the right time. If you're going back to school, if it's, September and you're going back to school and your kids are going back to school, probably not a great time to get a puppy just because you guys all won't be home. I'd recommend getting it at a time when there can be people to watch it, where it's not going to be left alone for very long during the day, just because puppies aren't fully developed and can't hold it very long to go to the bathroom. So I'd recommend getting it even on a weekend, but during like more of a calm time of the year. I'd recommend doing that, just so that you have time set out for the puppy. You'll want to probably invest in a crate, which, depending on the size of the dog, can cost anywhere from $40 to $130. It depends. I mean, what kind of crate you want. Some are more fancy and that type of thing, but you'll want to do a crate if you want to have a potty trained dog. And I mean, just having budget for the dog, because anything can happen. It's like with kids, but you don't have insurance for your dog. So you never know if they're going to get in an accident, especially when they're puppies. Accidents do happen and probably will.